Hey, I'm Geeky Pastimes, and in this video I'm going to show you what some of the numbers mean on the Gameshow gunfight map in Black Ops Cold War. The Gameshow map is all about this game show called What Do the Numbers Mean, and I think Treyarch have been having a bit of a joke with us and putting loads of numbers that all have sort of hidden meanings on them in the map. So we've worked out what quite a few of them mean. We'll talk about those, and I'll also show you some of the ones that we still don't quite understand. So if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We haven't solved everything, like I said. This is kind of a bit of an update to the video where I was talking about the things behind the mirror, the possible Easter egg on this map. Turns out there's loads and loads of different things on here. And by going here in theatre mode, we've kind of made it a little bit easier for ourselves. So we can go and have a proper look around and show you all of the different things that we've found so far, all of the different things that have been solved entirely by people on my Discord, not by me. And kind of what I think is tying all of this together. Because there's some things that are sort of very clear what it's about, and there's some things that are a little bit more mysterious. So just to start off with a little bit of kind of context for this map. This map is a gunfight map, which frustratingly means that you can't actually go into it in a custom game. So you have to do it in a live game, but once you've done a live game, you can mess around with it in theatre mode and you can have a look around and fly around, which makes things a lot easier. So it's a game show, and supposedly it's set in Los Angeles. So this whole thing's meant to be taking place in Los Angeles, and it's this game show called What Do the Numbers Mean? Which is obviously kind of a play on the whole thing from the Black Ops 1 campaign about Mason's numbers and the way he was conditioned. So just to sort of lend a bit more credence, because some of you might be thinking, oh, but it's not really in Los Angeles, it's actually like one of these kind of setup things in Mount Yamanto. You can actually see what I'm assuming is meant to be Los Angeles outside. You can see a few buildings if you fly outside a little bit. So you can see that this is meant to be like a TV set in, like, you know, Hollywood or something. But anyway, so you go back in. The thing that we were talking about in the previous video were these three mirrors. So you can break these three mirrors in the game, and you'll see this one has this kind of interrogation room in it that looks similar to the way to what was going on in the campaign for Black Ops Cold War. You've got this one which has this number 739864, which is repeated all across this board. We still don't know what this one means, and my personal thoughts are that this is something like the Miami Visitor Center or the train map in Moscow, where at some point we might get to use these as some part of some other puzzle, like an ARG or something. I think at some point, you know, it'll ask us for the number behind the mirror in this game show or something like that, and we'll need that code, because there's not much meaning you can get out of a 6-digit code. You know, there's not much that we can do with that. So I think that might be what it is, but you know, I've got no idea. Someone might be able to work out something else from that. Then we've also got these numbers, and these are one of the other things that we haven't worked out yet, where there's two post-it notes. They're repeated, but these are the only two that matter. Over and over again, we're assuming this is some kind of cipher, and I'll post it on Twitter. I'm at twitter.com/geekypastimes when somebody works out what these ones say. But we haven't worked out those. Now, on to things that we have worked out. So on this dresser table, there is a comic book, and some of you will recognize this as the intro to Der Eisendrache, or Die Eisendrache. I don't know how you pronounce these things in German. But that zombies map. So this is part of the from the intro for that. So that comic book is just there on the table, which by itself is kind of interesting. It's just, you know, a little nod to it. But there's actually more which ties into this, which makes this more interesting. So if we have a look around the rest of the map, you've got this over on the other side, which is this long cipher. Someone's been working out a cipher. Now this cipher, Origin were me on our Discord, worked it out, turned out it's in base 64, you convert it to base 64, and it will say, we have discovered that there are beings that can travel between dimensions without the aid of the teleporter. We were excited when we had that, because we thought, oh, this is tying this map into like zombies mode or something. But it turns out it's actually a cipher that's previously been used on this map. So on the Eisendrache. So this is a cipher that we've already seen in a game before, or other people had. I hadn't seen it on the map before. It's an old cipher that had already been solved a while ago, and it's from this map. So that's slightly interesting that there's kind of two nods to that map on this. Some people have suggested, you know, maybe this is hinting towards a possible remake of that map in Zombies, which would be pretty cool. It's a cool map. Or it could just be in-world thing. Maybe all the people who work on this show are massive fans of zombies and they've just been trying to work out this stuff and reading comics about it. Now, there's a bunch of other things in here that we looked at on a stream the other day. Like, there's some bizarrely high-res pictures of cats for some strange reason. No idea what that's about. There's also some pictures of dogs and kids. General pets. Just they're very strangely high-res, almost as if, like, you're going to use them for something in future. And there's a Burger Town keychain there, which is kind of cool. There's a couple of other comics. You can see there's this Land of the Khan one there. And then there's some post-it notes. This one looks almost like it's some kind of other code where it says you are an eagle and your wings are made of awesome, with eagle and awesome in capital letters as if they're keys for something. And then there's a cinema ticket for what looks like the Wicker Man, I think. And then there's a few other little bits and pieces dotted around on here. There's another post-it note with a really strange kind of quote on it saying, enjoy your struggle, because once you succeed, you're going to tell the story of your success till you die. So enjoy your struggle. Which to me seems a little bit weird for something to write on a post-it note. That seems like an odd one to me. There's also some letters here with an address that I can't quite read. It's still fairly high res, but just the handwriting's really messy. So that one's kind of tricky to read. And there's a Miami thing, which could just be, a connection to Miami, obviously. And there's also, like a menu and some other things. There's one of these arcade tickets I've been told was used for a cipher before in another Black Ops game, where there was a ticket very similar to this with a different number on it that was used as a key to solve a cipher. So we're assuming this number, 66929, is probably going to be used as a key to solve something else. Maybe something to do with one of these, maybe something to do with this, who knows. Anyway, we'll start looking around the map and showing you some of the things that we didn't talk about in the video before and some of the things that we found while we've been streaming over the last sort of few days. So all around the map, there's kind of these desks and things. There's some documents like this that you can't really see. They're blurry, so we assume they're not important. And then there's some that are much more important that do seem like they must mean something. So if I shoot over to the other spawn, to the other side of the map, there's this board. So on this board, there's lots and lots of different things. And you can see here there's some sets of 5 numbers, 5-digit codes. We've spent some time trying to work out what these are connected to. They do repeat, like the numbers are used over and over again. So you can see there, like some of the columns are just identical to each other. But we don't know what those are used for yet. There's same columns there. There's these ones where there's lots of numbers that are, they have some kind of order. Again, they repeat, the columns repeat, so we're not quite sure. That's one of the post-it notes that's in behind the mirror in the dressing table. That's the other one. So both of those, you don't even need to break the mirror to see them. You can see them there. And we've got this, which again repeats, like it's the... you've got the 3 columns on the left are the same as 3 columns on the right, and the middle column is the middle column from those sets. And that one at the top is just the middle column, but laid out in a different way. So all of those things repeat, and we haven't had much luck finding out what those things mean yet either. If they indeed mean anything, this whole sort of game show is called What Do Numbers Mean? So lots of numbers, lots of possible meanings. Now, going on to things that we do know what they mean. If you go over into the middle of the map, there is this board on the floor. So this is just sort of near a camera, near the main stage. This board there. Now this is quite a simple kind of cipher where basically you can just break the numbers up into individual numbers. So like 16 there, the 16 is actually 16, and that means it's a P, and then the 5 is an E because P is the 16th letter, E is the 5th letter. Then it's 18, which is R. And you go through like that, just matching them up. And this one says Perseus is truth. So this is something that just tells us Perseus is truth, which by itself doesn't mean that much. Perseus is truth, fine, it's like a cryptic thing about Perseus. But what is interesting about this is why is it here? Like, why is it on this game show? Unless they're using it to sort of maybe, brainwash people and they're going to put it up in front of the camera, sort of flash it up at some point. I don't know, but it's a very strange thing to be there. It's also something that I haven't seen anywhere else. Like, I haven't seen this particular board with this writing on it anywhere else. I think maybe, and I'll talk about this a bit more, I think it's just to do with the whole, what do the numbers mean? I think that's the idea. So another thing that we do understand what they mean is these. You've got these sort of, they look like scoreboards that are kind of glitching out, but actually that says 54 degrees, 15, then the sort of apostrophe thing, 18, then 00, then the quote marks 14. Now this is actually half of a set of coordinates, and the other set of coordinates, unsurprisingly, is just here. You can see again the 58 degrees. These coordinates point to Mount Yamato, which you'll know is in the campaign, and it's something that's been sort of in the Black Ops lore of this kind of secret Russian base that we've sort of been talking about lots and lots and lots. So those are coordinates for that place in real life, because, you know, Mount Yamato is a real place. It's a real place that you can find on a map. So that's something that's kind of cool, that have just used a scoreboard to kind of show those coordinates. Now, we've got some other numbers here, some more that we don't know what they mean. So if you go right back up to this bit, you can barely see from the main map. It says 347 back there, which is kind of interesting. You can actually go into this room if you want to. So you can fly around and go in here. There's some computer screens with more bits on that are in Russian. There's a few different things that you can't actually see from the main map, so I don't think they'll end up being important. But I thought that was kind of cool. There's also a load of clocks, you know, showing the time in different countries. Unlike the clocks that we used from Summit for Pawn Takes Pawn, these actually are the times in different countries. So I think that's probably less important. And then you've also got this document, which is kind of interesting. I think this probably exists somewhere else, but I'm not sure entirely where it's from, where it talks about radio broadcast frequencies and how you need the power to broadcast it with appropriate relays to boost the signal. And it's talking about maybe using satellites to do it. I kind of think that maybe this is talking about stuff from Black Ops 1, about them, the number station, trying to sort of get that signal out across the world. But I'm not entirely sure. So if anyone's seen that texture before, that kind of asset before, I'd be interested to know. Going back into the actual maps, a bit of the map that you can actually play on. Another little thing, there's a little Easter egg in the game where these buzzers actually work if you melee them. So in the game, if you run up to them melee, they will buzz. There's 4 there, and there's 2 here and 4 here. We have tried to use all of them in the game. We haven't seen anything happening. There's a chance maybe if you use them in the right order that something will happen. Obviously, it's a really tricky thing to test because you tend to get shot because you're out in the middle of the map. So we've been able to press them all in a game, but we haven't been able to sort of like try different combinations of them or anything like that yet. So that's something maybe to try. We did have a go at trying to set up a gunfight game where we were searching at the same time as another pair to see if we could get into a game together. But it didn't work. We couldn't manage to get it to work. So, oh well. So yeah, that's most of the things that we found. That's most of the kind of mysteries that have been found so far. Most of the things that have been deciphered or looked at. There doesn't seem to be anything else we can interact with other than those buttons. There's like lots more little like environmental details, like all of these little post-it notes and things. There's lots more little things like that are kind of interesting, but I think maybe it's just set dressing. I don't think it's that important. One thing that I'm getting more interested in, and was talked about on the Discord today, is this signing in and out board. So this is something where you can see all these ID numbers on the left, which all have 5 digits, which is kind of interesting. Then you've got the time they came in, time they went out, and then how long they worked, which is, you know, a kind of normal thing for a lot of places of work, letting you know how many hours you did so you can work out your pay. Now, one of the interesting things is that this one, 67842, turned up, but then didn't leave. So why didn't they leave? What happened to them? Now, again, this could just be like a little fun story thing, but it's kind of interesting that they didn't end up leaving. Now, again, I don't know what this means. It could be something that we'll use in an ARG, use on a website thing in the future, but I thought that's kind of interesting. So it's another cool thing to have a look at. So, lots and lots of things. Those are those numbers that we've seen before already. So lots and lots of things, lots of mysterious things. Now, going back to what it all means, I think it all comes back to this. That this map is like a game show of what the numbers mean, and they've given us in this loads of little codes, loads of little puzzles around cryptic numbers. I personally don't think there's going to be some kind of really interesting thing that ties all of this together. I don't think that's the idea. I think it's more just there's lots of fun little codes in it. That's the idea behind it. But you never know, it could be used for much more. When we did Pawn Takes Pawn, for people who don't know, there was a time where we had to go into the game to find things. There was some in Warzone, so there were the tangrams that we used and the stadium reticles. Those were used, which thankfully we'd already mapped out, which saved us a lot of time. But then there's also been things like when the beta was on, we had to go into the Miami Visitor Center to look at this kind of timeline type thing to work something out. And we also had to use the train map in Moscow to work out a step of it. So they have got sort of previous form of hiding details in maps that then later you need to go back to. We've spent some time yesterday going through every other gunfight map. There's 4 gunfight maps at the moment in Black Ops Cold War, and we couldn't find any other map that had anything like these kind of details, anything like these kind of interesting little things, anything like these kind of interesting little secrets. You can go through this door as well and go and have a nose around up here. So yeah, nose around. Oh, that's a joke. So yeah, there's like, it definitely seems like there's something in this map, but it might just be, oh look, there's some interesting numbers, there's some interesting little codes and interesting little puzzles, and that's the end of it. It would be cool if it turned out there was something you could do with the buzzers. In Modern Warfare, lots of the gunfight maps, I think all of the DLC ones, ended up having some kind of Easter egg attached to them. So here's hoping, and I'm really hoping, if Treyarch's listening, if anyone from Treyarch watches this video, please, please, please add this as a custom map. I really want to be able to play gunfight maps in customs, not just look for Easter eggs, but just in general, I really like playing gunfight, and I like to be able to play against my friends rather than playing against randomers. So that would be really, really cool if we could do that, and then we'd probably be able to make a bit more progress on what to do with all of those different buttons and things like that. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give a like and subscribe. If we find out anything more, so we find out anything about what those different codes mean, so the ones behind the mirror, or we find something out about the ones on the clipboard, then I will, of course, be tweeting about it, and if it's something substantial, I'll make a video about it. But I just kind of wanted to show you everything that we're working on at the moment, everything we know, everything we've tried, just so if you find anything, you can let us know, and it will help us out a lot. So thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.